Welcome to the AI for You Cafe. Great that you're all here. And today we have with us Sheila Belladine-Jad. She's the Global Head of Partnerships for Women in AI. She's already here, but soon I will introduce her. First, my name is Carmen McWilliams. I am your moderator and organizer as always. And today the theme is Accelerating AI for Women. And as always, I introduce the little rules. Please take notice that the session will be recorded. No confidential information shall be shared in this cafe session. In this cafe, the speaker expresses her personal view and opinion. This is not necessarily the official AI for You project opinion. And what is actually this AI Cafe about? If you, for the first time here for you, this is an online forum to gain insight into the European AI scene. Participants get the chance to share knowledge and experiences and meet stakeholders from various areas of AI research and application. So now again, thank you for everybody joining us. It's great to see all the participants coming into the cafe, and it's here in Cologne today, rainy day. So I hope some people of you feel like joining us for that reason. But I know you're from Europe and some of you from Canada and US and even India. So welcome everybody. And if you have questions, as always, there is a way of asking questions to Sheila and of course me. There is on the right side, there is a menu panel, and there's also, you see it like question chat. You can type in your questions and I'm going to read them to Sheila afterwards when she's ready with her presentations. So now I'm going to, of course, introduce our special guest. Hello, Sheila. Hello. Hello, great to see you. Sheila is the founder and CEO of O Canada Tech. She has 20 years of experience in software engineering with a special interest and expertise in artificial intelligence evaluation. She helps private equity firms going through the merger and acquisition process by providing technical due diligence assessments of the target company's software infrastructure. Additionally, she works with executive management teams of technology companies to define and execute strategic roadmaps for digital transformation and adoption of AI. She is the Global Head of Partnerships for Women in AI and the Ambassador of Munich. She also has an advisory role for Green Tech Alliance non-profit organization. Great to have you here, and I think you're even overqualified. This exists. So great, and now I give the floor to Sheila, and also she will introduce what she's talking about. But now I will change the role, and Sheila is now the moderator, so you can introduce yourself, and thank you here.
Okay, thank you so much, Carmen, for that introduction. And thank you for having me here today. I really appreciate it. And to all the audience who have joined us today, I will walk through the presentation that I've created. So you see my screen okay, Carmen?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. So I won't go into too much details about myself and my background. I think, Carmen, you did a good introduction, and thank you for that. You know, perhaps what may interest you is how I became engaged and enthusiastic about women in AI, and not just the organization, but you know, my passion for this topic. After many years of being in an industry that was male dominated, and working my way up the ladder, and without any support, being in a male-dominated industry, you know, part of the boys' club and so on, I became quite interested in, you know, finding an outlet, a medium of some sort, where I could support other women who are in the early stages of their career, or they want to get into this area and support them. And and that's how I became engaged with the Women in AI. And the more I got into it, the more passionate I became about the topic and the reach, the global reach that we have in this organization. And it's just fantastic. And we have, gone fully online because of the COVID-19 situation. But I always look at things as an opportunity rather than a problem or a challenge. And I think this has been a great opportunity for the world to connect. We are now connected with people as part of the Women in AI. We are connected with people all the way in Madagascar, Nepal, Honduras. We just recently launched a chapter in Ethiopia. This is just fantastic and amazing, and the momentum is really great to get some things done. So enough about that, and getting into the topic of what we're talking about today. And so the topic is accelerating women in AI, and there's a lot of discussion about disparity of women in artificial intelligence from an educational and entrepreneurship perspective. I think this is a well-known fact supported by data. There are books about it, there are articles about it, we're very well aware of this problem. But what my interest is is how do we address this? What do we do? It's time to take some action. We've understood the problem. From what I have heard so far, I think there's a lot of good discussions about it with researchers and so on. So we understand the problem really well, but what steps are we taking to address it and fix it and so on? So let's get into the little bit of of the details. So what is the issue? As you guys know, it is artificial intelligence and adopting artificial intelligence in the software and in our everyday life is part of the digital transformation. It's unavoidable. AI is not a standalone product. It doesn't sit by itself. It is part of the software architecture. It is fed data. It has output of data and so on. And the interesting thing about AI is that it's an interdisciplinary field where you have impact and contributions from all different people in society, from healthcare providers to policymakers, lawmakers, politicians, statisticians, mathematicians, and all these various fields who have influence over AI or contribute to it or benefit from it. So that's quite interesting to have all those different aspects. And from my own personal experience moving into Europe from North America, I realized that Europe is a little bit behind in digital transformation. We still don't do a lot of the things that are done electronically in North America. In Canada, our healthcare system is available digitally online. I can very easily look up my medical reports, look up my lab results. My doctor can get this very easily through the applications that are available. The pharmacy can get my notes for my medicine immediately as soon as I leave the doctor's office. It's sitting there waiting for me to be picked up and so on. So we have those kind of advantages that I'm kind of seeing it's not quite there in Europe yet. However, as talking about opportunities earlier, as the result of the pandemic, we have noticed that this has become an opportunity perhaps for us to fast forward and be on the fast track of this digital transformation journey and speed things up a little bit. Why? Because it is impacting many different things. It is impacting, climate change. It is impacting AI, of course. It is impacting gender disparity, education, and so on. So I think this has provided an opportunity for us to speed things up a little bit. And so whereas women come into this picture is, again, another well-known fact that women are underrepresented in data. There are many things that women do. They have They don't get paid for the, child care, house care, all these domestic labor that they do. Data around that is not captured. We don't have good, representation of how women work in society. For example, I was just reading a book earlier called Invisible Woman. I have it right here with me as well. And it's exposing data bias in a world designed for man. And it's quite fascinating. I was thinking to myself, why didn't I read this book sooner? Because it has some really great examples. One of them, for example, being that nurses, which is a female-dominated profession, are often at risk of harassment and abuse. And the data around this is so minimal because it's underreported. It is not, highlighted at all, and therefore the design of the hospital has not taken into account that these nurses could need protection. Perhaps it is not best to have them so far away from each other. Perhaps the hospital rooms should be closer to each other so the nurses can support each other, or perhaps their stations should be somewhere centralized. These things have not been taken into account, so nurses are at risk and danger. Same goes for city logistics and accessibility. A lot of these care services are provided by women for children, for the elderly, and so on. But yet you will see that the cities have been designed in a way that it is not very accessible for women who are carrying groceries and a kid and a stroller and all these things. It's just not easy for them to get around in the city. That has not been taken into consideration. Another data point was car safety. So car manufacturers, when they test their vehicles, they were not taking into account that, with their dummies that they were using for the safety, the features of women, that they are, perhaps their body shape is smaller, it's different than men, but the dummies were representing men. So these are things, in the industry that are not to the advantage of women. And yet we are a big population of society. So this is a problem. I hope you all agree that this is a really big problem. And I just read recently, according to the World Economic Forum, that we are about 100 years away from gender equality. And that's why, I think that we need to do something. We need to speed things up. And how can we go about doing that? So you may very well know that women are not represented enough in leadership roles, in technical roles, in financial roles. I have been working in a technical field for over 20 years. I have always been part of the Boys Club. When I graduated from university, there was 5 women in the class and 22 men. Still today, in computer science, or technical related fields, the number of female students are much lower than men. Why is that? What is wrong with this? And how can we, encourage more women and kind of fix the problem? It has been, studies have shown that having diverse companies with women at the decision-making table, they have better performance. So, as we were talking about, not having the right type of data to address this disparity, we don't have diversity in the data, and it comes to the point of collection of the data. So, for example, as you may all very well know and heard of, that face recognition software, just recently was realized that it was, the data used to build that was not representative of the general of the population. So, and that was bad because, it was discriminatory against people of color. And mostly fed data that was white male, and that is a big problem. So a few more examples. Just recently, I saw another article about 22% of jobs in artificial intelligence are held by women. This is a really slow percentage, and you know, even much fewer in senior roles. There are gender biases baked into AI tools as well. Amazon's AI-powered recruiting tool, they just recently removed that from their system because it was, you know, not to the benefit of women and designed for male candidates. Computer vision systems, we just talked about that, and how it has, you know, difficulty recognizing women, especially with darker skin tones. Even natural language processing tools, you know, if you go to Google and do a Google search, you know, sometimes you will see that things that pop up in the search are quite interesting. For example, a man is to computer programmer as a woman is to, and you know, homemaker pops up. So why is that so? Again, going through some statistics and examples of what the problem is, just to, you know, give a review. I think many people who are interested in this topic already know about that. So we know that there is not enough diversity in AI, and that comes from the data collection. So we need to be aware of that and try to fix that. So what can be done about this? These are some suggestions that, you know, that I have been thinking of. What can we do? I've read a lot of articles coming from the World Economic Forum, from Forbes magazines, from researchers and so on. So I kind of captured what I had in my mind as I, you know, thought that perhaps these are some areas that we can focus on. Removing barrier to entry. What does that mean? So as a mother of 2 kids, 1 boy and 1 girl, who are now teenagers, I can say that I was always disappointed by toys. At a young age, I would see, for example, Lego. Lego has, you know, boy toys and, you know, the boy version and the girl version. The girl version was pink and purple, and the boy version had, you know, pirate ships and so on. My own daughter, she didn't like the girly pink and purple, but she couldn't, you know, she didn't feel comfortable using the one that had the pirate as a boy. So she asked me one day, Mom, why can't I have a pirate ship Lego with a girl figurine? Why are they always boys? Good question, huh? So these go back into how things are, you know, ingrained in the mindset, whether it's unconscious or not. Maybe it's cultural. You know, there's so many complexities about why it is the way that it is, but it's there. We need to raise awareness about it and do something about it. So as I was creating this presentation for you guys today, I was quite disappointed and frustrated. Why? Because I'm using a tool called Canva. And in that tool, Canva is actually a startup company created by a woman. And yet, when you go to search for icons, there are not that many female icons in there. So when I went and looked for entrepreneur, startup, for coach, agile, these kinds of, you know, words, a lot of pictures, you know, pop up that are men. Out of 20, maybe there is 1 or 2 that are female. And that's quite frustrating, because so kids can only become what they see, the role models that they have. They can't become something that they don't see. So this is another thing that really needs to be addressed. You know, Canva was one example, Trello. I even looked into Microsoft PowerPoint. Same story. I did not see enough women in their images, in their icons. I've actually contacted these companies, but nothing has been done yet. So we need to request these changes from these, you know, software companies, from the toy makers and so on. We have the power to do that. We have the power to petition. We have the power to bring awareness to these things. Another thing that I've noticed is that, boosting confidence in girls. One thing, so when my kids were little at their school, I started this robotics club, and we did some programming and so on. And we had a good mixture of girls and boys there. And it really makes a big difference if you encourage kids. Not all kids are the same. Kids learn in different ways. They have different ways of processing things. Humans are complex. Individuals are different from one to another. Perhaps we need to have a better approach to our teaching methods so that kids are more interested in technical related topics and so forth. Perhaps it is not a one-size-fits-all method that we should be applying. So another thing that of course everybody is aware, and that's a big issue, is closing the pay gap. I think it is on the agenda for many countries to do that. We are slowly moving towards closing the gender gap, but it's still there, and it needs to be addressed in order to have a society that is promoting equality. So who should be engaged to support this? So this goes back to this particular slide I put together, because I kind of think about things coming from the business world, being a consultant, working with investors, and so on. I'm looking at this from a business perspective. We have to show the businesses, we have to show the investors, we have to show the governments that this is in their best interest, because it could generate more jobs, it could boost the economy, it could have, they could have a more solid investment into the company that, the investor is investing and so on. So it is really important to tie this cause to value creation, or what value is being created by introducing more women into artificial intelligence and technical fields and so on. Why should they care about it? When I do the technical due diligences nowadays, I look at the data. I look and see, is the data a true representative of the population that they're building these models for? And if it's not, I will raise that as an investment to the, as an investment risk. It's a risk in my opinion. Why? Because they could get into trouble later on. They could get sued if the face recognition software is not identifying people correctly. They could, the implications of these applications could be detrimental to the society. So that is a very high risk and an objective that, people should be really, really cautious about when investing in a company. So I've started kind of to, ingrain those kind of things into the business world and the people that I work with. And once you bring up the money aspect, the financial aspect of things, then you have people's attention, because investors say, well, why should I care about it if it really doesn't change my bottom line, right? But it will change their bottom line. They can be more profitable if more women are at the decision-making table, and we have to show them how. So another topic is about, okay, so we talked about having, AI is multidisciplinary. And what does that mean? It means like we really need to look at all angles of the implications of AI. We need to have a sociologist, we need to have, psychologists, we need to have experts that can better help us better understand the implications to people. And, maybe we can't hire all these people full-time on the project that we're working on, but we can certainly consult with them. So we need to have, everyone involved to help make this change happen. And another thing, as being part of a female organization, I always say that everyone should help and contribute to the cause of gender equality and fairness and ethics in AI and so on. It is not just women alone who need to be doing that. And I just recently read an article that said that the onus can't be on women alone. We have to work in tandem with men if we want to have a society that is promoting equality for all. So there are our allies. You know, I'm all for being feminist and so on, but I think that we have to think of men as our allies and not as part of the problem, but part of the solution. So things that we touched upon. So education. If you you know, have noticed, there are some countries that are starting education in computer science at an early age. I think that is great. You know, Estonia is one of the countries that, you know, they have very strong technical AI oriented people and women, including. They start teaching children at a young age. So starting at a young age is helpful. Just as they do, you know, they start teaching math, why not have computers? And computers are nowadays used in everything and anything, from, you know, the doctor, from the lawyer to the dentist. Everyone uses computers. Everyone needs to understand what goes on behind the scene of the computer so that they can better understand if it's really doing the job that they need it to be doing or not properly. Toys, we already talked about toys. So we need to have a more diverse and, you know, toys and have good role models for young girls from early on. There are some social and cultural aspects of the biases around what girls should be doing, what boys should be doing, and so on. Girls are taught from early on, oh, you need to be nice to everyone, you know, and they don't learn how to collaborate with each other. Boys, they, you know, throw stones at each other and they learn to be more collaborative. So they say boys are always boys, and, you know, girls, they give them cooking and baking and those kind of, you know, related toys. When I was searching for icons and pictures in this very tool, and I searched for the word entrepreneur, what came up was a woman in cafes and women making dresses while men were at the computer or at the blackboard. So you get my point? These things need to be changed. Mindsets need to be changed and shifted towards having a more equal society. You know, we need to build confidence in children and their abilities. How do we go about doing that? As I was, you know, mentioning earlier, when I had this team, the robotics club at the school of my children, I had another parent helping me with this, and one day he said, you know, there were some children who were struggling a little bit, and one day he said, well, not everybody is smart enough to do this. And I was just appalled by that statement. I was insulted by that statement. I think every child is, you know, has the ability to learn. They just learn in different ways. Some people are more visual, some kids need more guidance, some kids need more encouragement, and it's just, you know, different people have different needs. Now, nowadays we can use AI. There's adaptive learning software that can adapt to your needs. I actually did a due diligence for a company that was selling their product, and they had this software for medical students that was adaptive, so that, you know, based on your existing knowledge, it would suggest what you should be learning next and so on. And that was wonderful. Why not take those ideas and apply that to other areas in education and so on. Another thing that is really important that I see over and over again with young, you know, this is one of the reasons why that, perhaps one of the reasons why that girls drop out of these programs or can't carry through. So time management. I don't think that anyone teaches anyone, not just kids, time management, organization, prioritization. We are now accustomed to doing many things simultaneously. We have, you know, multitasking. We're on the computer, we're on our phone, we're reading a book, we're doing this and doing that, watching TV. We're not focused enough. We're not good enough in learning how to prioritize things. These are things that need to be taught somewhere by someone. And who is that person? Is it at school? Is it at home? Is it a combination of the both? But those are things that really need to be taught at a really young age. Otherwise, it's just not possible to ingrain that in people later on, or it becomes much more difficult. Teaching them about finances and money matters. So here's the takeaway that I had is that, my approach to education is to take a holistic approach. Mind, body, and social aspects of education needs to be taken into consideration. We talk a lot about the what, and I think there needs to be more discussions about the how. Another thing, which is really one of my favorite topics, is entrepreneurship. So, this is really important. Again, going back to tying these things to value creation and money. So to grab someone's attention, McKinsey has reported that bridging the UK gender gap has the potential to add 150 billion to GDP forecasts for 2025 in the UK. This is a fantastic report. This grabs attention. Now you see the potential. So this is what we're talking about. It is important for the governments and the enterprises and the industry to invest in women. So how do we go about doing this? So there are a lot of female founder accelerate programs nowadays. I just read an article about one of the great ones in Europe. Being part of the Women in AI in Germany, we are actually working on an accelerate program for female founders. And we are hoping to open up the applications towards the end of the year and launch in 2021. This is one of my favorite topics because I think we have the potential to do a lot of good. And thankfully, we have a lot of interest from partners in industry and government organizations who are very supportive in helping us on this mission. So if any of you are interested in this program, we hope that we can share more details about it with you all soon. We're still in finalizing some of the planning and working on building the framework and so on. So entrepreneurship is important. Next comes another favorite topic, mentorship. So how can we take some practical steps to move forward? And some takeaways out of this presentation for those of you who may be interested in how do I go about doing things? What do I do? What is the next step? I'm a woman, I want to get into this. I don't know how, I don't know where to start or where I can get support and things like that. So mentorship, in my opinion, is really important. And you need to find the right type of mentor. So you could have a mentor that could help you with your business goals, with your resume, how you want to present yourself on social media and so on. You can have a mentor to help you with the technical aspects of things. You want to learn machine learning, you don't know which one, which course to start with. There are many courses out there at different levels and whatnot, and you need some guidance there. You don't have to have just one mentor. You can have many mentors for different things. So think of getting a mentor and don't be shy to ask. I have reached out to people on LinkedIn myself, people who I have been looking up to, asking them their opinion about a certain thing because I valued their opinion. I had read about them, I had read their articles and whatnot. It's amazing how forthcoming people are and how collaborative people are and how willing they are to share their thoughts and experience and have dialogue. So take advantage of that. We have all these, mediums available to us that wasn't available to us 20 years ago. So take advantage of that. Another thing, value your mentor's time. Mentors give you their personal time and commitment. So value their time, plan in advance what you want from your sessions with them and be goal oriented. That's one thing that I see that is lacking in some of the people that I, work with in a younger generation is that they're not very goal oriented. So be goal oriented, set, milestones for yourself that will help you. Be open to having male or female mentors, So of course there are fantastic female mentors out there, but why not get a perspective of a male as well? Always be open to getting diverse support and mentorship and so on. And try to become a mentor yourself. One of the things that I've encountered is that, women are a little bit lacking in confidence in general. They think that, oh, I don't know this subject good enough to become a mentor. I don't see that in, so working with a lot of, both men and women, I don't see that a lot in men. I would give them a task that about a topic that they had never seen before or heard of, and they would say, oh, sure, yeah, I'll go do it. But if I, sometimes when I would give that to a woman, she will say, well, let me think about it. Well, I have to do some investigation. Have a can-do attitude. We just had an event yesterday that one of our partners was holding, and the women of the DACH region were representing the women in AI. There was myself, there was Gisela from Switzerland and Karina from Austria. And, Gisela was offering this advice of just do it, that's simple. Have a can-do mindset and attitude. Perhaps this has been ingrained to me because my father always told me this: you can do anything you set your mind to. I give the same advice to everyone, men or women. You can also make this, mentorship a two-way exchange. Share your story with your mentor. You would always get better response when you share your story, when you tell them where you're coming from and where you're headed and what you want to do. So have that open dialogue with them. Promote them any possible way that you can. That can be a two-way relationship. So yeah, mentorship. Some of these suggestions I read from an article by Margie Worrell, which I really liked, and I put her quote in there just to give her credit for some of these tips, but some of them were also from my experience as well. And then I have a few book recommendations. I think I just mentioned earlier that I was reading this book of Invisible Woman, and the examples that I gave earlier about the disparity in data with the nurses, with the vehicles and so on, came from that book. It's really interesting and eye-opening. Highly recommend it. Another favorite book of mine is by a woman called Sarah Cooper. She has now become quite famous, but I got to know Sarah a couple of years ago before she became famous, and with this book of how to be successful without hurting men's feelings. It's quite funny. It's to the point. She used to be a tech executive herself, and she moved away from that and became a comedian, but a comedian with a cause. So I highly recommend this to anyone, and I even recommended this book to my son, who read it, and being a teenager, and he thought it was funny, but then he came to me and he said, "Mom, is this how men really treat women in the workplace?" And I said, "Yeah, unfortunately it is so." And he shook his head and he said, I don't want to be like them. So share these things with not just other women, but with your male friends, male relatives, with your sons, husband, boyfriend, whoever. It's eye-opening for them to see and feel what we go through. This other book that I just recently came across, I have not read it myself yet. It's from an organization called Vital Voices. And I just learned about it because it was posted by Melinda Gates, that she is one of the 100 women who have contributed to this book. So I'm quite eager. I have it on my reading list. I'm quite eager to read this book. So there was my 3 recommendation of books. And here's a little snapshot of Sarah Cooper's book. It is quite funny, it's quite hilarious. I you know, enjoy reading that quite often. And yeah, if you have any questions, if there's anything I can help you with, please feel free to contact me. And I would be more than happy to help you, support you. That's what we're here for. We are a community of people who support each other in any possible way that we can. So, Carmen, I think I have come to the end of my presentation. Perhaps it's now a good point to start taking some questions.
Yes, thank you very much. Very, very, very good insight into women and AI. And this comes directly to my question. Just a little bit background for the people who don't know that there's a Women in AI organization. What is it?
Oh, okay, sure. That's a good question. So Women in AI is an organization that was founded by 3 young women in 2016 who were frustrated themselves by the lack of presence of women in artificial intelligence. They, I think, you know, they met at a hackathon and they realized there was like, you know, 2 women and 20-something men, and they thought, okay, we need to do something about it. So it all started, you know, about 4 years ago, and they built this community of women to support them in terms of, you know, education, you know, various programs. We have a lot of different talks that we plan. We bring in industry experts. We bring in, you know, policymakers and whatnot. We see what our community likes to hear, and we, you know, support them in whatever they want to learn. We connect them to organizations. For example, if they're an entrepreneur and they're looking for information, we connect them to people that we know, people who are supporting our cause, and so on. We have an Accelerate program for 2020, actually, which is coming to an end soon, and that was initiated by the ambassador in the Netherlands, Eve. And those, you know, these kind of programs promoting women in artificial intelligence and so on. The community has grown and it's continuing to grow. We have representation all around the world, and the numbers just keep increasing. So if you'd like to learn more, you can visit the womeninai.co website, and you can see all the information there. And of course, you are welcome to join the community. It's open for everyone.
Great. Here's also a directly similar question from Hada Garcia. Hi, how could we get more information about the entrepreneurship program you talked about?
Right. So the entrepreneurship program, actually, as I mentioned earlier, so there is a program that is running right now and it's coming to an end, and that was initiated in the Netherlands. In Germany, we are currently in the process of defining the framework of the program. It is not quite finalized yet. We intend to, you know, share more information and open up the application towards the end of the year. So keep your eye out on, you know, our social media platforms, the website, the LinkedIn, the Facebook, and so on. As soon as we have something available to share with you guys, we will post it on our social media. And again, the intention of this program is to help women from the point of, you know, having an idea, the ideation part of it, all the way to the MVP. And, you know, creating your minimal viable product and launching. So we hope to be, you know, having a good framework to help women throughout all those phases. The program is currently very centric to Germany, because, you know, that's where we have more information about how you can open up a company in Germany, what are the tax, you know, related questions and things like that. We have some support there to help women in those types of questions, but we do intend to open it to, you know, as many people as we can in Europe. So we would like to make this a European program if we possibly can. And the only thing, because we're doing all of this online, everyone can participate, but the only thing would be if you are, for example, from a country that we do not yet have representatives, then we may not be able to support you in the local related questions of how do you do things in your own country or in your own city. So that may be something that we may, that little aspect of it, we may not be able to support you, but all the other, components of it, of attending the talks, attending the workshops and everything that we're planning to create, we're hoping to have that open for everyone in Europe.
So the question is also, how do we get that information? I understood now from you that you look on women in AI on the website, no? You basically
yeah. On the website, we do have a LinkedIn page as well. I would suggest that keeping your eye on the Women in AI, Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. We have a page that is dedicated to the DACH German-speaking region. So we will definitely be posting updates there and on the website. So those are the two resources that we have. If you subscribe to our newsletters as well, which you can do that by going to the website, you may also be receiving this information via the newsletter.
Okay, I think this is also from Bara said. I think the question was, hello, thank you for bringing this topic. I'm interested in the acceleration program. I think this is exactly also the answer you gave. Now we have a new question. Diana, hi. I have a question. Is it for technical functions mainly?
The Accelerate program? Yes, it is designed to support women who are getting into, creating a company or coming up with a product or services or whatnot with an account, as we are an organization focused on AI.
Okay, good. Thank you. And here, Maria. Maria has a question. Thank you for this brilliant talk. Curiosity, what is the percentage of women in this cafe? Last week, a moment, I have to just scroll down. Last week, I participated in an Earth observation cafe on women in Copernicus, the EU's EO program. I was the only male in the audience, apart from males from the organization team. A practical question, I'm the director of a project funded by the European Space Agency. So it's Stefan who talks here. Stefan. It is called AI for EO. We will be organizing AI challenges to tackle and grant societal challenges with AI applied to EO. Any advice from our great speaker or from the audience on how to ensure a large participation of female AI experts? So that's the question. You have an advice?
Sorry, what does the EO stand for?
Earth observation. Earth observation.
Oh, I see. Yeah, well, I think we get a lot of requests coming to us from, partners where they don't have, like, for example, just a few months ago, there was this event, ML Ops, where it was quite technical and they just didn't have enough representation of women. So they sent us an invite. All it takes is to, they contact us, and then we share that with our community. And then we had, quite a good number of, representation. Reach out to these female organizations, whether it's on LinkedIn or through your own network or whatnot. Just a simple invitation can go a long way. There are many women organizations out there. There are Women in Tech, Women in AI, many different organizations with a similar mission to promote more women in the technical fields and in STEM and so on. Just contact them, send them an invitation. Sometimes when there is a ticket that they need to purchase to attend these events, because many of our members are students or early in their careers and so on, it may not be feasible for them to purchase these expensive tickets and whatnot. So what I've noticed is that, we often get tickets from some of our partners, complimentary ones, and they go pretty fast. So that could also be another option.
So many tips. I hope, Stefan, you heard it. And he also said, no, I said Earth observation, but it's also satellite imagery. No? So I think everybody can imagine. So again, there is also a call out there coming. Now, Maria, did you inspire the work of male researchers, changing the way they see their female colleagues, their collaboration with them? Do we have an example?
Sorry, I didn't quite understand the question.
I read again. Did you inspire the work of male researchers, changing the way they see their female colleagues, their collaboration with them? So I think she would like to.
Yeah, I don't know if I have personally, impacted anyone's research, but I always am very, open and like to have dialogue and express my opinion to, people who are working on topics that I'm passionate about. And that's what I would, suggest that everyone should do, is to have open dialogue in a respectful, way, and professional and respectful way, and express your thoughts. And a lot of times, people are quite receptive. I do have a lot of male in my circle because of the nature of my job, and I have noticed that many of them are quite supportive. So and quite open to hearing my stories about women who struggle in these types of fields and whatnot, and they're helping us to and supporting us and things like that. So we just had a global summit at the Women in AI on September 8th, and I held a talk, and two of my panelists were men who were attending to help us and promote our cause. So there are, people out there who care about this cause as much as we do, engage with them, have dialogue with them, and that's how influence is made once they hear our story and better understand it.
Great. Yes. So now you get a lot of congrats. Magda says, I do not have any questions. I would just like to congratulate you on this.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Thank you.
And Steph also says super. And so now I think I'm the one who can ask a last question. I mean, there is Wei who wants to talk. Would you like to hear it? I can, one moment. Hi Wei, you can, if you want, you can talk, but I think she's so long on. So I said, please write the question when you want, write it in the chat text is better, because then we see it better and can read it one after the other. So my last question comes now. As you are in the AI and I'm in the AI, who would you recommend next as a speaker?
Oh, there are many women, in our circle that I would, love to introduce you to, but I can't think of someone just at the top of my head. It depends on what the talk and the interests of people are. In our community, we have, like in the Germany team, we have someone who is an expert in natural language processing. So if there's anyone who likes to hear more about technical things rather than social and so on, so we do have experts in machine learning. That's one option. But it just depends on what the audience would like to hear. Then I think I could make a recommendation. I'm just curious, Carmen, just by looking at the names that are participating, what percentage do you see as women?
I see 50. 50. Okay. 50, if I'm not wrong. Yes, the question was before there, but 60%.
Okay, not too bad.
No, we're not too bad. And normally a cafe is rather a lot of ladies. I hear the cafes somehow attracts at least most of the time 40%. It's rather good mixed. I'm very happy about this for everybody out. And one more last thing, one moment. I'm just here coming one moment. One moment. Here we are. Last, and then we are. Thank you for, yeah. Okay, here's somebody. Thank you for the. So, and as I can only repeat, as we already heard from Sheila, so please get in contact. And women and in AI, this is a real nice, good website and social media as well, and so on. Please register, please stay in touch. That's the way. There are many great sessions out there. And so please join. I'm also a member, so I make advertisement as well.
so perhaps, Carmen, maybe we can ask the audience, are they interested in hearing more technical, speeches at the cafe or not? If they are, then I can certainly introduce a couple of people from the Germany team to participate for next time. Yes. Maybe they can.
Write me. I mean, I will now also switch over to my last slides, and there you see my email. So if you want to write to me, just write me what you want to hear. That's the key on this cafe. Please be interactive. Send the topics you want. Send speaker recommendation. So if you're technically interested, write technically interested in, for example, the speaker and which topic you like to have, and the other way around, maybe more in business. I myself am very interested in female entrepreneurs, to see examples like Sheila, which is totally inspiring because I'm also an entrepreneur. So if you ask me, I would like to see AI entrepreneurs. But please write what you might like to hear. Write it to me. And now I will show you the last thing, the slides, because that's always the ending and the most. One moment, if it works. Yes, it works. I see it on the other screen. It comes. So there you. The next cafe will be Damien. That's again a man. And his name is Damien Swittering. But he is inspired by his wife, who was COVID-19 as a nurse, very busy, and he was a little bit in his home office bored. So he wanted to do something good, and his title is Solving for COVID. So he tried to help to understand the peaks in precast, basically the peaks in COVID-19 with AI tools. So it's very hands-on. And after comes again a woman. So I'm always looking for man, woman. So next one will be Crystal. It's not on the slide. Crystal from Orange, and she will really give hands-on how Orange uses AI tools in the moment in their company. So this will be great as well. So please come in. I try to mix the speakers, I try to mix the topics, but I need your help. And in the invitation, and also you will have a follow-up email. You will see my email, so just return if you have a question. You will see it right away there. Now we thank you, Sheila, and please stay in touch. I will stay in touch. So if I get more questions to me, which are actually for you, I will send it to you. No? So
thank you so much, Carmen, for having me here today, and thank you for the AI for EU for providing this platform and the opportunity for us to speak. I really appreciate that, and thank you for the audience for showing up. I was interested to hear that we have people coming from all corners of the world. That's fantastic. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, and have a nice afternoon, and see you next time. Bye bye. No? Bye bye. I say goodbye now. Bye.
Bye.